I agree, like Emily Dunn. This is my channel, The Midnight Librarian, and today I'll be talking about my July anticipated releases. We're pretty on point, right? I think we can go ahead and get into what this is for. July releases that I'm interested in some way or another. Let me try to move you a little bit though, so that I'm not like totally being rude or weird. This slightly, there we go, so I can have the photos here. I think that's good. Okay, so we have quite a few coming out on July 2nd. The first being Break to You by Neal Shusterman. I haven't heard, I don't know if he's had anything since the Scythe series, which I have yet to finish, so I'm curious just because it's Neal Shusterman, even though I haven't finished the series. But we are following Adriana, who knows that if she can manage to keep her head down for the next 7 months, she might be able to get through her sentence in the Compass Juvenile Detention Center. Thankfully, she's allowed to keep her journal where she writes down her most private thoughts when her feelings get too big, until the day she opens her journal and discovers that her thoughts are no longer so private. Someone has read her writings and has written back. A boy who lives on the other side of the gender-divided detention center. A boy who sparks a fire in her to write back. John's story is different than Adriana's. He's already been at Compass for years and will be in the system for years to come. Still, when he reads the words Adriana writes him, it makes him feel like the walls that hold them have melted away. I think it sounds really intriguing. I'm really curious. I don't think there's a whole lot in terms of this perspective of someone who already in the juvenile system or juvenile detention system, so I'm really curious about it. I don't know if there is or not. I haven't found any, but that's not saying much. There's hundreds of books out there. So this one is The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. The cover is really interesting to me, but this is, I believe, a historical fiction. It's set in August 1975. A camp counselor discovers an empty bunk. Its occupant, Barbara Van Laar, has gone missing. Barbara isn't the only 13-year-old to have gone missing. Oh, Barbara isn't just any 13-year-old. She's the daughter of the family that owns the summer camp and employs most of its region's residents. And this isn't the first time the Van Laar child has disappeared. Barbara's older brother similarly vanished 14 years ago and has never been found. That's all I know. That's all I want to know. Next is The Night Ends with Fire by KX Song. This is the first book in the Night Ends with Fire series. It's a fantasy, romance, and retelling with dragons. Infused with magic and romance, the sweeping fantasy adventure inspired by the legend of Mulan follows a young woman determined to choose her own destiny, even if that means going against everyone she loves. The three kingdoms are at war, but Mei Lin's father refuses to answer the imperial draft. Trapped by his opium addiction, he plans to sell Mei Lin for her dowry. But when Mei Lin discovers her husband to be is another violent, ill-tempered man, she realizes that nothing will change for her unless she takes matters into her own hands. The very next day, she disguises herself as a boy and enlists in her father's place. In the army, Mei Lin's relentless hard work brings her recognition, friendship, and a growing closeness with Sky, a prince turned training partner, but she simply exchanged one prison for another. As her kingdom barrels toward destruction, Mei Lin begins to have visions of a sea dragon spirit that offers her true power and freedom, but with a deadly price. This sounds really intriguing. I'm really very interested in it. Next is The Lion Women of Tehran by Marjan Kamali. This is another historical fiction, a gorgeous cover. I've heard that this was offered as an early release through Book of the Month, but I no longer subscribe to them, so. But I believe this follows two women, young women, and in the 1950s when they're girls, they're 7 years old. Ellie lives in a grand comfort until the untimely death of her father, forcing Ellie and her mother to move to a tiny home downtown. Lonely and bearing the brunt of her mother's endless grievances, Ellie dreams of a friend to alleviate her isolation. Luckily, one day, on the first day of school, she meets Homa, a kind, passionate girl with a brave and irresistible spirit. Together, the two girls play games, learn to cook in the stone kitchen of Homa's warm home, and wander through the colorful stalls of the Grand Bazaar, and share their ambitions of becoming lion women. But then, one day, Ellie's mother and her are afforded the opportunity to return to their previous bourgeois life, and she takes it, and the women meet up later in life. It sounds really, I don't know, it sounds heart-wrenching, and I'm excited for it. Next is The Love of My Afterlife by Christy Greenwood. This is a romance fantasy. I believe we are following this young woman who, recently deceased woman, who finds the one in the afterlife, in the afterlife waiting room, scoring a second chance at life and love if she can find him on Earth before 10 days are up. That's all I know. That's all I want to know. This sounds really intriguing. My batteries are flashing, so hold on just a sec. Okay, if you're adjusted slightly, you look to be a little cockeyed. My apologies. There we go. Like I said, my batteries were flashing, so just switch those out real quick. Whoopsie. Okay. Next book for July 2nd. I honestly am more intrigued by the cover than I am with the premise, and that is Dishonestly Yours by Krista Ritchie and Becca Ritchie, and the first book in Webs We Weave series. Starting fresh is the only way Phoebe can escape a life of crime, but her best friend's older brother complicates honest dreams in this gripping never new series from the authors of Addicted series. I haven't read it, so that doesn't. So it sounds like Phoebe grew up in a family of deception and seduction. They're, I mean, con artists, really. But she wants to make a new life for herself with her best friend Haley. So they run away to start over. And last minute, Haley's older brother convinces them that to take him with them. Living honestly isn't in his DNA, and his past with Phoebe is downright messy. He's everything she wants, but nothing she can have. Not sure how I feel about it, but like I said, the cover has me intrigued. I think this is strawberry, the pink strawberry with the gold is really enticing to me. Next is a graphic novel, I believe, and it's called Woe, a house cat story of despair by Lucy Nicely. Join the hilarious and of course dramatic world of Linny, the house cat, as her web comic antics are gathered into a graphic novel for the very first time. This collection is perfect for cat lovers and Linny fans alike. So I haven't seen this webtoon series. I kind of like it that way, as I've seen other webtoon series and gotten their books, and they tend to have a bit, I mean, I get that that's not just the webtoons, but others that they created for the books themselves. But I kind of want to see how it goes with like not knowing anything and not seeing it before. Just the cover makes me laugh. So I think it'll be really fun and whimsy. Okay, the next cluster of books are being scheduled to release July 9th. And the first one is The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst, and this is a fantasy romance cozy mystery. We were following Keela, who has always had trouble dealing with people. Thankfully, as a librarian at the Great Library of Elysium, she and her assistant Kaz, a magically sentient spider plant, have spent the last decades sequestered among the Empire's most precious spellbooks, preserving their magic for the city's elite. When a revolution begins and the library goes up in flames, she and Kaz flee with the spellbooks they can carry and head to a remote island Keela never thought she'd see again, her childhood home. Taking refuge there, Keela discovers, much to her dismay, a nosy and very handsome neighbor who can't take a hint and keeps showing up day after day to make sure she's fed and to help fix up her new home. That's all I know. That's all I really want to know. This sounds adorable, and I want it. Sentient spider plant? What? Next is The Brier Club by Kate Quinn. This is historical fiction mystery thriller, a haunting, powerful story of female friendships and secrets in Washington, D.C. boarding house during the McCarthy era. Washington, D.C., 1950. Everyone keeps to themselves at Briarwood House, a down-at-the-heels all-female boarding house in the heart of the nation's capital, where secrets hide behind white picket fences. But when the lovely, mysterious widow Grace March moves into the attic, she draws her oddball collection of neighbors into unlikely friendship. That's all I know. That's all I really want to know. It's a little too much gold for me on the front, but I like the idea of the keyhole and its symbolism, so I don't know, I'm intrigued. Next is All This and More by Pang Shepherd. I have read 2 of other Pang Shepherd's work, The Cartographers, which was okay, and then The Book of M, which I think is going to be one of my big, like, at least it's going to be one of my best books of 2024. I really enjoyed it. This one is her newest release. This is a science fiction fantasy. From the critically acclaimed bestseller of The Cartographers and The Book of M comes an inventive new novel about a woman who wins the chance to rewrite every mistake she's ever made, and how far she'll go to find her elusive happily ever after. But there's a twist. The reader gets to decide what she does next to change her fate. So from my understanding, it's a choose your own adventure, which sounds amazing. And in a way, it's giving me like the Midnight Library meets, even though I haven't read that yet, but I think that's basically what it kind of is with a choose your own adventure. So I'm really excited about it. Next is The Sky on Fire by Jen Lyons. This is a adult fantasy romance with dragons. Enter a world ruled by dragons. The cover is absolutely gorgeous. Anarod lives only for survival, preferring to thrive in the jungles of the deep with the Titan Drake she keeps by her side. When an adventuring party saves her from capture by the local warlord Siskarion, she is eager to return to her solitary life, but this is no ordinary rescue. Anharod's past has caught up with her, and these cunning misfits intend to spirit her away to the Cloud Cities, where they need her to help steal from a dragon's horde. That's all I know. That's all I really want to know. The next cluster of books are set to be released July 16th, and the first one of that is a Stephen Graham Jones, his latest I Was a Teenage Slasher. This is a horror thriller historical fiction. I'm hit or miss with Stephen Graham Jones. Indian Lake series I didn't enjoy, but I only read the first one. I'm not reading the rest. I'm sorry, I wasn't that interested. But the Only Good Indians I really enjoyed. Night of the Mannequins was okay. So I'm interested to see what else Stephen Graham Jones has to offer. This is 1989 La Mesa, Texas, a small West Texas town driven by oil and cotton, and a place where everyone knows everyone else's business. So it goes for Tully Driver, a good kid with more potential than application, 17 and about to be cursed to kill for revenge. Here, Stephen Graham Jones explores the Texas he grew up in, the unfairness of being on the outside through the slasher horror he lives, but from the perspective of the killer, Tully. Writing his own autobiography. It sounds really interesting. I'm glad this doesn't give us much. I'm just interested. Next we have The Keeper of Stars by Buck Turner. This is a romance historical fiction mystery. In 1962, 12 years removed from the summer when she first gave her heart away, Dr. Elizabeth Ellie Spencer, professor of astronomy at Indiana University, received a mysterious package that has her asking that very question. I don't think there was a question asked. Inside the unmarked box is a novel written by Ellie's first love, Jack Bennett. It tells the story of a young man and a woman who meet at the water's edge and fall madly in love, only to have their romance cut short by forces beyond their control. Ellie quickly realizes this is no ordinary story, it's their story. Captivated by Jack's words, she immerses herself in the pages, reliving the adventures that they've shared. That magical adventure, to her astonishment, hidden among the tales of stargazing and stolen kisses, is a detail that has her questioning everything. Gorgeous cover. This is Beep by Bill Rubach. I guess in the tradition of Shelley Van Pelt's remarkably bright creatures, an ebullient, funny, and hugely original novel about friendship between a brilliant young girl and a prospective squirrel monkey. The power of youth and the way forward for a planet in crisis. This immensely enjoyable novel takes a sweet and personable squirrel monkey, Beep, to help us see the world we live in more clearly, while intending only to go deeper and higher into the Costa Rican rainforest to find a mate. He instead meets Inga, a kindly and loving American teenager on vacation with her family. Inadvertently, often hilariously, Beep makes his wacky way back to New York with Inga, and with her courageously devoted help and a bit of inspiration from a visiting Greta Thunberg, along with a dramatic zoo escape. And with the help of just about every animal on Earth, Beep manages to change the destiny of the world. Next, we have a nonfiction memoir, Sharks Don't Sink, Adventures of a Rogue Shark Scientist by Jasmine Graham. From a marine biologist and co-founder of Minorities in Shark Sciences, a powerful debut, the uplifting story of a young black scientist's challenging journey to flourish outside the traditional confines of academia, inspired by her intimate connection with nature's most misunderstood animal, the shark. That's all I need to know. I'm excited for it. Next is The West Passage, Jared Pachasiak. My apologies for mispronouncing that last name. I know I did. Let's see. A palace the size of a city ruled by giant ladies of unknowable eldritch origin, a land left to slow decay, drowning in the debris of generations. All this and more awaits you within The West Passage, a delightful, mysterious, and intriguingly weird medieval fantasy unlike anything you've read before. When the guardian of the West Passage died in her bed, the women of Grey Tower fed her to the crows and went back to their chores. No successor was named as guardian. No one took up the fallen blade. The West Passage went unguarded. Now snow blankets gray in the height of summer. Rats erupt from beneath the earth, fleeing that which comes. Crops fail, hunger looms, and none stand ready to face the beast stirring beneath the poisoned soil. All I really want to know. So this one I'm hesitant for because I'm really bad at completing short story collections. But this is The White Guy Dies First, edited by Terry Benton. 13 scary stories, 13 authors of color, 13 times we survived the first kill. The White Guy Dies First is a powerful, entertaining collection for YA readers featuring 13 scary stories in which a white guy dies first. It's edited by Terry Benton Walker, as I said, including stories from best-selling and critically acclaimed authors Alexis Henderson, Chloe Gong, Kaylin Barron, Karen Strong, Kendare Blake, Lamar Giles, Tiffany D. Jackson. It sounds interesting. The title got me. And then lastly, for July 16th, we have another nonfiction, which is Meet the Neighbors, Animal Minds and Life in a More Than Human World by Brandon Keem. Okay, so what does the science of animal intelligence mean for how we understand and live with the wild creatures around us? Honeybees deliberate democratically. Rats reflect on the past. Snakes have friends. In recent decades, our understanding of animal cognition has exploded, making indisputably clear that the cities and landscapes around us are filled with thinking, feeling individuals besides ourselves. But the way we relate to wild animals has yet to catch up. In Meet the Neighbors, acclaimed science journalist Brandon Keem asked, what would it mean to take the minds of other animals seriously? I love this. I don't love the cover, but I love this idea. Okay, next we have a random release on July 23rd, and that is the Ornithologist Field Guide to Love. This is the first book in the Love Academic series by India Holton. Rival ornithologists hunt through England for a rare magical bird in this historical fantasy rom-com reminiscent of Indiana Jones but with manners, tea, and helicopter parasols. Beth Pickering is on the verge of finally capturing the rare death whistler bird from when Professor Devon Lockley swoops in, captures both her bird and her imagination like a villain, albeit a handsome and charming villain, but that's beside the point. As someone highly educated in the ruthless discipline of ornithology, Beth knows trouble when she sees it, and she is determined to keep her distance from Devon. For his part, Devon has never been more smitten than he has when first setting eyes on Professor Beth Pickering. She's so pretty, so polite, so capable of bringing down a fiery, deadly bird using only her wits, in other words, an angel. Devon understands he must not get close to her, however, since they're professional rivals. This cover is absolutely gorgeous. This premise is just astounding. I'm really excited for this. Okay, next is one that I guess has already technically been published through Kindle in 2014, but it's being republished on July 29th, and that is the newest by, I don't know if it's new or not. It's by Darcy Coates, and it's called Ghost Camera. When Janine finds an abandoned Polaroid camera, she takes a photo just for fun, but there's something wrong. There's a ghostly figure standing in the background, watching her. Janine and her best friend Brier quickly realize the camera is capable of capturing the dead, but the ghosts seem to be following the friends, and with each new photo taken, the specters become clearer and closer. Oh my god, this is so cool. No, this may have to wait till fall. Oh, this sounds creepy. And this cover is, oh my goodness. Okay, I haven't read a Darcy Coates before, but this one I might have to get to first. I don't know. If you've read a Darcy Coates before, let me know which one I should read first, because I'm really tempted with this Ghost Camera. Okay, and lastly, the last book for the month of July is scheduled to come out July 30th, and that is The Wedding People by Alison Esbeck. I wasn't sure about this one, but then I heard Sydney from Sydney's BookWorrom is from Sydney Books. Syd from Sydney BookWorrom. Her channel's linked below. Had talked about it and it sounded interesting. So basically, we're following another Phoebe. Apparently that's the name right now. Phoebe Stone arrives at the Grand Cornwall Inn in Rhode Island, wearing a green dress and gold heels, not a bag in sight, and alone. She's immediately mistaken by everyone in the lobby for one of the wedding people, but she's actually the only guest at the Cornwall who isn't there for the big event. Phoebe is here because she's dreamt about coming for years. She hoped to shuck oysters and take sunset sails with her husband, only now she's here without him. Meanwhile, the bride has accounted for every detail and every possible disaster the weekend might yield, except for, well, Phoebe, which makes it that much more surprising when the women can't stop confiding in each other. I think it's going to be heartbreaking and funny. It's supposed to be like contemporary romance with humor, and I feel like there's going to be some heavy topics in terms of why Phoebe's there without her husband. So I think it'll be really interesting. The cover is really entertaining. Yeah. So that is it for the month of July in terms of what I'm interested in. I'm sure there's a whole slew of more books that are out there. What are some of the ones that you're very much interested in? I would love to hear it down in the comments down below. Or if you have read a Darcy Coates, which one, or multiple, which one do you think I should start out with? I think Ghost Camera. Otherwise, yeah, if you don't feel like answering the questions, you don't have the spoons, let's go ahead and for the wedding people, let's go ahead and do that cheers emoji, whether it's a bottle of champagne or the two glasses clinking. Let's do that. Why not? Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe if you have yet to do so, and I hope to see you in another video very soon. And I hope that you are in the mental mindset to enjoy your reading. Chew.